Welcome to The Explainer, where we break down complex topics using the original source material. So today, we're going to dig into the hidden vulnerabilities of the global mobile network and uncover the startling price tag that gets put on your personal data. Okay, let's just jump right in with a question. When you're traveling and your phone connects to a different network, do you just assume that your location data is, private? Most of us do, right? But what if I told you the reality is a lot more messy and, honestly, a bit scary? You see, the entire global mobile network, it was built on a flaw, a really big one. And this isn't some theoretical bug we're talking about. It's a very real backdoor that's being used right now to turn our phones into tracking devices without us ever knowing. And this isn't just theory, not at all. Take a look at this. A report from 2020 uncovered that over just 3 months, Saudi telecom companies sent almost 8 million location requests to U.S. networks. They were tracking more than 47,000 of their own customers traveling in the States. Think about that. That averages out to a check on their location every 11 minutes, nonstop. So how is this even possible? Well, it's because of a system called SS7. The best way to think of it is like the global postal service for all mobile networks. It was designed back in the 1970s, a totally different era, right? When there were only a handful of big, state-owned phone companies that all knew and trusted each other. Security wasn't even on the back burner. It just wasn't on the stove at all. And whenever you have a vulnerability that massive, you can bet a marketplace is going to pop up to exploit it. Because this isn't just some flaw in the system, it's actually the foundation of a very secretive and very profitable global industry. So you're probably wondering, how did the bad guys get into this trusted network? You'd think they'd have to be master hackers, right? Nope. They just rent a key. The practice is called global title leasing. Mobile operators literally lease out their network addresses, their official spot on the network, to other companies. And that lease acts like a skeleton key to the entire global system. Okay, so picture this. A surveillance company, maybe hiding behind a legitimate-looking business, goes and leases network access, often from a carrier in a country that doesn't ask too many questions. Once they have that access, they can plug into the global network and start pinging phones on almost any other network on Earth. It's a backdoor with a truly global reach. Even the industry's own watchdog, the GSMA, has stepped in and said, hey, this practice should not be used. But look at that word, advises. That's not a rule. It's not a ban. It's a suggestion. So the practice stays in this gray area, largely unregulated, and it continues to be a go-to entry point for these kinds of surveillance operations. Okay, so once your data is out there, whether it's siphoned off the network through something like SS7 or stolen in a massive breach, where does it all actually end up? And what's it really worth? Well, all this stolen data, it fuels this massive underground economy. And get this, the cost to the world is projected to hit $12 trillion for 2025 alone. This isn't just a privacy problem, it is a gigantic economic threat. And in these dark web markets, everything, and I mean everything, has a price tag. Your social security number, you might be shocked, but it could go for just $1 or $2. Why? Because after all the huge breaches, there's just a massive oversupply. But other things, like a detailed medical record or a verified crypto account, yeah, those can fetch hundreds or even over $1,000. And what's really wild is how the prices change depending on where you are. A stolen UK credit card, for example, is often worth more than one from the US. And you may think that's odd, but the reason is pretty simple. The UK has better fraud detection. That means the few cards that do get stolen are more likely to work, which makes them more valuable to criminals. It's a perfect, kind of twisted example of supply and demand. But this isn't just about your personal info being sold off piece by piece. There's a whole supply chain here, an entire ecosystem that can turn one tiny mistake into a total corporate meltdown. It all starts so small. An employee clicks on the wrong link in an email. Boom, malware gets in and starts grabbing saved passwords. This raw data, called a log, gets sold super cheap, maybe for $10. But then a specialist, an initial access broker, buys it, sifts through it, finds the valuable corporate login inside, and then resells that single point of access to a ransomware gang for tens of thousands of dollars. And this isn't hypothetical. This is exactly what happened with the massive Change Healthcare breach, the biggest healthcare breach in U.S. history, affecting 193 million people, started just like this. The entry point wasn't some crazy, sophisticated hack. It was a single remote server that just didn't have basic multi-factor authentication. It's like leaving the front door of Fort Knox wide open. So you hear about all these gaping holes in our 3G and 4G networks, and you think, okay, surely 5G is going to come in and save the day, right? Well, on paper, yeah, 5G is supposed to be the fix. It was designed with a brand new bouncer at the door, basically. It's called the Security Edge Protection Proxy, or SEP, and its only job is to sit at the border of the network, check everyone's ID, encrypt the conversation, and make sure no one sketchy gets in. It's meant to replace that whole old-fashioned trust model. So unlike the old SS7 system, which was basically an open-door party, this new setup is a mandatory security checkpoint. The idea is to slam the door shut on the very vulnerabilities we've been talking about, making that kind of tracking we saw earlier impossible. But, and you knew there was a but coming, here's the massive catch. To actually use this new security feature, operators have to build their 5G network in a specific, modern way. And as of early 2023, a whopping 88% of them hadn't. They're using an older setup that just walks right around these critical security features. It's all about getting speed to market, often at the expense of security. The folks at the Citizen Lab really hit the nail on the head here. They basically said that operators are racing to sell us the speed of 5G without actually bothering to build in the security that was supposed to come with it. So all of this really brings us to one huge final question, doesn't it? Our technology is moving at lightning speed, but our security is lagging way, way behind. In a world where our digital lives are so exposed, whose job is it to close that gap? Is it the companies, the government, or does it ultimately fall on us?